So, welcome everyone. I'm not sure whether there's going to be a delay or something on this video. I'm using mobile data in Australia, which tends to not be as fast. So we'll see how we go. But very, very excited today to have my amazing grandmother here chatting with everyone in an AMA. Welcome, Hazel, to the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
Let me move this a little bit closer. Hi, Mr. Harry Lasagna. All right, so can everyone hear us all right? Because I don't have any microphones, because I just thought it would be better to chat with her rather than passing a thing back and forth. So just let me know that it all sounds good. And then I stole my sister's phone here, which I got to figure out how to work real bad. So I'll try this other thing and then see how we go. It's cutting in and out, guys. I'm real sorry. That's just the fact that I'm using data, so video not playing. Yeah, Andy, I'm real sorry. I think it's because it's just really slow internet here, so it may cut in and out. I'm just warning you now, but she's worth it. She's absolutely worth it. So it looks like we're a little bit stable now. It looks like we're back on. So I've been pestered in my Telegram group to do this AMA with my grandmother. You guys have seen videos of her before. She's talked to you about tech in the past, about growing up through the Depression, about being a singer in the army. I don't know if people knew about that. We'll talk about that here. But this is an AMA.
Wasn't that important?
Oh, rubbish.
For goodness sake.
And she hates me for roping her into this, but you're amazing and everyone needs to know it. And you're also amazing because you have been keeping up with Bitcoin. Maybe not recently. I mean, who keeps up with Bitcoin these days? It's a bear market, am I right? But no, Nan, back in the day, like at least 3 years ago, I think it started, I would be calling up home to say hello. And I'd chat with her and she would tell me all about the Bitcoin prices. She'd be like, oh, well, did you know it was in the news again tonight? And they're saying that, you know, China's really getting involved and and it's spiking at the moment. I think there's going to be a crash. And she was like really into this stuff. So that was pretty enjoyable for me to find. So let's start off with some questions. I'm keeping an eye on Bitbacker in case anyone wants to send in questions. I will have them here ready to go. So let me just start off, Nan. Let me start off. So let's talk about tech.
About what?
That's a great start. New tech. Like, what do you think about this current age of technology with all the technological advancements that we've seen?
That is something that I don't know anything about. Technology to me at my age is out. I don't like it. I don't like computers. I don't like my mobile phone.
We got you a computer years ago.
I know.
And you had email for about a week. And then
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I know that. And it's interesting. So as you get older, people tend to not want to try the new things. Why is that?
I tried it and it didn't work. God gave me a good brain, thank God for that. But why use technology when I've got a good brain? If I want to know anything, then I'll go and get a book and I'll research it. That way I talk to people. I don't sit and stare at a screen and diddy-da all over the keyboard.
I diddy-da all day with people on a screen.
I know.
But it's lovely because you have connections with people all over the world.
But you don't connect. You're connecting with a machine.
No, it's not true, man. It's not true. You can connect with people. Like, I've made some amazing friends on the internet that I've done through my show, and people will chat to me and they join my Telegram group, and I love it because we don't have to be in the same place. I could be here in Perth, Western Australia, and I can still be chatting with people.
You can chat with people, but you don't know them. You don't know their moods. You don't know their deep secrets. You don't know any of those things.
That's true.
No. Communication has been a thing in my life. I work with children communicating, and these days it just breaks my heart to see little 4 and 5-year-olds with their eyes glued to one of those things. Not speaking to
What are you
anybody.
talking about, Nan? Wait, hold that thought. I'm just chatting to people on the internet. Wait, no, I'm joking.
There we go. Don't talk to me, Nan. I'm yes. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about when you grew up. So you were born in 1925.
That's correct.
That was a really long time ago. You're 93. You're almost 94.
Yeah.
And can I just I got to tell an anecdote, actually. So the other day we had mulberry pie for Christmas. And there was some leftover pie. My sister and I took a couple of pieces of pie. And then we ran out because it's delicious, because she makes the best mulberry pie in the world. And maybe I'll get her to do a video tutorial on how to make mulberry pie, because it's honestly the best thing in the world. But I called her up and said, Nan, you've got some leftover pie. I'm coming over to pick it up. Tomorrow morning I'll be there. And I rock up at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I arrive and there's a freshly baked mulberry pie sitting there, because she got up at 7 o'clock in the morning to make us a brand new one. And you're almost 94. It's remarkable. So let's talk about your childhood, and let's talk about growing up and living through the Depression. And you grew up in a small town north of Perth called Geraldton.
Well, it was about the third biggest town in Western Australia at the time.
What, so there were like 4 people there?
A port, where a lot of shipping coming in and so forth, and farming area, and mining just outside. Yeah, Geraldton. It was a seaport town, lovely place, where children could grow up and wander far and wide and without fear, which was great.
Yeah,
yeah, we had a lovely time.
You have, you're a child of 12.
Right.
So you have 5 sisters, had 5 sisters,
That's
6
right.
brothers.
That's correct.
And you tell me stories about growing up without televisions and radios and all of this. And you told me about like when you first got your radio, you know, you'd like, a good song would come on and you'd push the dining table aside, and you'd all partner up with your brothers and sisters.
Oh, we do that
dance.
without the radio. We just, we'd be doing homework, or we'd be sewing, or we'd be doing something in the main living room, and somebody would start to whistle or somebody would start to sing, and the next thing we know, we had a full-blown concert. It was wonderful. Yeah.
It sounds so beautiful. Like, it sounds like a much more simple life.
Well, it was.
That we have now. And I don't know whether that's just people being nostalgic, because I'm sure things weren't simple back then.
It was simple. People weren't used to a lot. They weren't used to a lot of money. They weren't used to a lot of anything. Times were fairly hard. And mind you, 1925, I'm talking about going through the Depression, where so many people were out of work.
So we got a super chat from Andy. I've just got to read it out. So people, what they can do on these things, Nan, is this. So this is live, and people can send you messages. And let me see if I can pull that out. So Andy just sent a message and a super chat, and he said, for Grandma, bring here tea. In the physical world too, not all friends and family members know everything, deep secrets, etc. I'm not playing and still some are cold. Online can be warmer. That's interesting. So he was saying that, talking about what we mentioned before, about how when you're talking with people online, you don't know their secrets, and it's colder, and, you know, in person can be warmer. Well, he says that sometimes in real life you don't know their secrets, and in real life people can be very cold. Sometimes you can find friends on the internet and it's easier to open up because you don't necessarily know them in person. And it can be warmer, it can be an outlet. So that's an interesting point. I like that, Andy. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. So what?
Oh, sorry. We were talking about.
I don't know.
We were talking about growing up. Yes, and the tables pushed aside, and the dancing, and the.
Yeah.
So, like, walk me through what a day would look like for you. Like for me, a day is I wake up and I probably check my email, and I check my social media, and I probably edit some videos. And I'm probably on my computer all day, if we're being honest. It's what I do. What was a day like for you growing up?
Being one of 12, we would get up, we would make our beds, And we would go to the kitchen where, for by that time, Father had made the porridge before he slipped off to work. And we'd have our breakfast, we'd wash up and wipe up and clean our teeth and do all that sort of thing and go to school. And school was fun. I think, what, until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Excuse me. I don't know, it was family. We didn't wander far. We'd come home and everybody in the street would come to our house, of course.
You've always been that. So Nana's always been like the hub for community. Any place that she is, people just gravitate to her house, and she makes them pies and sandwiches and scones and cookies.
Yes,
and.
yes. But no, life was simple. We didn't care. I can remember when the first theatre came to Geraldton, when the first film was filmed in Geraldton. Our first radio was a little thing like that. It was called a lecmec. And I can see us now sitting in a circle around it with our eyes glued to it, listening to some story on the wireless. I can always remember one on a Monday night called Khyber. It was about the Khyber Pass.
What's the Khyber Pass?
Absolutely infatuated with it, yeah.
What is the Khyber Pass?
The Khyber Pass is in India. It's where the Raj, the English, were there and fighting the natives. And we wouldn't have missed that for anything.
So that was like a radio play, but you'd
and
watch
the
radio.
And we were all there with our eyes glued to it. that was quite a thing, yeah.
Wow.
But we used to have a lot of sing-alongs, and I don't know, it was a lot of, you know, we had a big table in what we called the living room, and we'd be doing our homework, or we'd be sewing, or it was simple, but it was lovely. Yeah. Because we were together all the time.
I kind of hear these stories, like, I mean, not just from your era when you were growing up. Oh, I got another super chat. I've got to, because I'm on my phone, I've got to look at these as soon as they come up, because otherwise they'll disappear. I can't scroll back through my computer. Kieran asks, can he come over for pie? And sorry, he doesn't have his smart cash wallet with him. So can Kieran come over for pie, Nan? He's here in Perth.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, you'd better bring some mulberries.
You better bring some mulberries.
I'm running out.
You bring some mulberries, Kieran. You can come over for pie. Maybe I can convince Nan to. Maybe I can convince her to come to my Bitcoin party on the 3rd.
No.
Maybe she'll give a presentation. So Kieran, you can also use Bitcoin Cash as well, if you wanted. So. If anyone wants to use the Bitbacker, then please do. I'm just going to keep that. Oh my gosh, yes, I did get a power chat. All right, so I'm reading another one as well. So Anonymous says, Naomi, since you and Nan are in the future, can you give us some tips on some shit coins we can take advantage of? So I'll ask Nan about shit coins later.
No, you won't.
And I'll ask your question in a little bit. But thank you. Thanks for sending that. So all right. So we'll talk about Bitcoin in a second. I kind of want to first of all just get an idea of like life back then. So you said you remember when the first theatre, like movie theatre, came to town.
Yes.
What was that like? Because this is a country town. You say that it was the 3rd largest in WA, but WA was tiny. I mean, even now in Australia, there are like 22 million people in the whole country. We're talking about a town just on the west coast, very, very small. So what was it like suddenly getting a movie theatre?
Well, it was wonderful. I can still see them putting it up. We went into the theatre.
Oh, I got another power chat. Oh no, don't disappear, power chat. Oh no. Oh no, the power chat went away. I can't. Can someone please write a message saying what that last one was? Because I didn't get a chance to read it, and I feel really bad that it disappeared. I think it was Arturo. We'll see what that was. Let me see if I can pull it up. But you continue, Nan. I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, I can remember them setting the theatre up, and I'm going in, and they were putting what looked like grey blankets across the ceiling. that was for, and it was actually just a hall in Geraldton. It wasn't until much later that they actually built a theatre, a cinema, but it was just in a hall. Yeah.
So it was just like a screen. Oh, we got people post comments there, so they're chatting while we're doing this. They're all talking in a room, hanging out, which is actually kind of fun. No, but keep talking. So, like, what do you remember the first film that you saw?
No, I can't say that I do, but I do remember that I never missed a Shirley Temple film.
You never missed a Shirley Temple?
Oh, no. Shirley Temple with her Shirley Temple curls. and it was terribly funny because I thought Shirley Temple was absolutely wonderful. My mother preferred Jane Withers, who was the nasty one.
Jane
she
Weathers?
Said she was by far the better actress.
Does anyone even know who that... Jane Weathers? This is a new name
I remember
for me.
Jane Withers from a long back. But Mother always thought that she was the better one because she was the better actress.
Yeah, but Shirley Temple had the curls.
Oh,
and
she had the
tap
curls
dancing.
And she could write. She cried beautifully.
Shirley Temple cried?
Oh, yeah, she cried
beautifully.
Yeah. She tap danced very well too.
That's an interesting question as well. The difference between films back then and films today. I mean, I watch those films. Like, people get angry at me because they're like, Naomi, films today are way superior. You know, the graphics are better, the acting's better, everything is better. But I watch these old films and I love them so. And yes, the acting isn't great, but it's a different type of style. It's very, you know, over
very
the top.
emotive.
But I love that. I think they're so beautiful. Like, what do you, from your perspective, grown films?
Thankfully, occasionally on television, we'll get an old film from the 30s or the 40s. Mm-hmm. And they are so, they're absolute ham.
Yeah.
They are so amusing, no matter how dramatic they are.
If I loved you, time would
Right. Great amusement. I love watching them. But then, you know, dramas and that are really... Gregory Peck was, oh, God. Yeah.
Was he like your heartthrob back in the day?
I was in the army, and a friend of mine knew the American unit that had all the films and distributed all the films, and she took me. And this film that had just come in with this new actor, and it was called The Keys to the Kingdom, I think it was called, and it was Gregory Peck, and I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful man in all my life.
Wait, were you married to Tim, my grandfather,
No,
at the time?
I was only about 18 years old.
Well, you say only 18 years old, which was a full 2 months before I met Tim.
I was in the army. I didn't meet Tim until after I came out of the army. I served 3.5 years.
You were married by 21.
Yeah.
So when you say
but
only
I joined up
18,
when I was 17 and a half, don't
yeah,
forget.
so all right, let's talk about that. So you lived through World War II.
I did.
You lied about your age to get into the army.
Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of people watching, like, they're very anti-war.
Well, let's say I was in my 18th year. I was heading towards 18.
All right, technicalities. You lied about your age to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's perspective back then about war. And it was about, like, you know, serving for your country and protecting it. Now people look at war and they see the atrocities and the death and the destruction. And they're, you know, it's this very, like, I don't want to be involved with that. I don't want other people to be that. I don't want, like, disappearing into taxes to fund this war machine. Right. So explain to me the mindset back then that made you go, okay, I want to do this so badly, I'm going to lie about my age to get in there.
I went because the war in the Pacific had started and the opposition was winning, and I felt that my country was threatened, and if I could do anything in the smallest way to stop that, then I was going to do it, and I did it.
And you had 2 different roles in the army. You were in the canteen?
I was in the I went into the main headquarters in Perth at first, but it was terribly boring. They were all old, over-aged old gentlemen, you know, very boring. So I transferred to canteens, and I ended up, very few had my opportunity, because if you enrolled in Western Australia, paid in Western Australia, well, I was privileged enough to be serving up in Cairns in North Queensland. So I sort of got to know Australia by travelling by troop train.
So talk about that. Nan tells me this story about how when she first joined up, she had to get on this train going across the Nullarbor. Now, Nullarbor means null arbor, like no trees, because the middle of Australia is this giant desert and it's stinking hot and there's nothing there. And she had to get on a train, no air conditioning, like packed
train, not just a train, a troop train.
So explain to people.
Cattle trucks.
Yeah, explain to people your experience of getting over there, because you talk about it with such like hatred and like anger that they, you know, that.
I actually had been on leave in Geraldton, came back on the Saturday morning to be told that I was on a train at 1 o'clock that afternoon, and I was heading for Cairns in North Queensland, which is way, way up the other side of Australia. It's like
if this is Australia and Perth is down there and Cairns is like over there.
Over there on the other side,
you know, complete opposite.
So we headed out at 1 o'clock on Saturday and travelled to Kalgoorlie. And this was December, January, the hottest time of the year in Australia. And we were in cattle trucks and troop trains. I was in a carriage with 4 bunks, but there were 6 of us in the carriage.
Wow.
So we headed down to Kalgoorlie, it's the Nullarbor, and Nullarbor, we stopped 3 times a day for meals, and the middle of the day out of the carriage, and they put big dixies, big iron things out on these
What's
desert.
What's a dixie?
Dixies are big sort of kettles, you know.
Okay.
One had stew in it, one had cabbage in it, one had potato in it, and you went along with your tin plate and your tin mug, and they gave you stew, cabbage and potato, and then they gave you a slice of bread and butter. And you had to watch that, because as sure as God, the train stopped, there was a tribe of Aborigines came, and if you didn't watch it, you lost your piece of bread and butter.
That's true.
No, true. And of course then the dust of the desert had settled down and the flies.
He was 93, so says all right.
So we travelled the desert.
How long did it take you?
It took me 6 weeks to get to Cairns.
6 weeks in the stinking hot middle of summer across the desert.
Not across the desert. It only took me about 3 days across the desert, 3-4 days. But then there was Adelaide, Victoria, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, and then finally Queensland and Northern Queensland. And by the time I got to Brisbane, I was so embedded with coal dust that they actually gave me 2 or 3 days off so that I could soak in water. Wow. And get all my clothes cleaned.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was quite an adventure.
So you operated...
And I did that 3 times. I went over, then I came home once on leave. In 2.5 years, I only had 1 leave. I came back and then back up again. So I crossed the Nullarbor in the summer 3 times.
Gosh, I have not done it once and would not do it without air conditioning. So that, I mean, that's insane. So you worked in the canteen, but then you were also a singer.
No, I didn't work in canteen. I worked in canteen headquarters.
Headquarters.
I was a comptometer operator, which was runner of computers. And
so it's interesting that you being like at the forefront of tech back in the day, being a comptometer operator, and now you are very anti-computers.
I hated comptometer operating.
So it all started back then.
Absolutely.
We blame World War II for your dislike of computers.
Yeah.
Well, you do like computers a little bit, because one thing that I do when I go overseas, and because I'm based in New York, I call you, especially when Becca, my sister, is over. I will call you when I get to see you on the screen, and you have no idea how much joy that brings me to be over the other side of the world and to be able to see your face and have you see me. Like, isn't that...
wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
All right, okay.
I love seeing it.
Okay, Miss Facet. So you were also, as well as working the comptometers, and we got another power chat, but I'll call that out in a second. You were a singer in the army, and I think that is one of the coolest
yes,
things.
but that wasn't actually the paid job, you know.
But you were still, I mean, you would perform for thousands of troops, singing in this.
That was in Western Australia before I went over.
But you imagine being in the, so like 1939, 1945, so where you started around 1940, 1941?
I enlisted on the 26th of September 1942.
And how she remembers that date, I have no idea, but this is my grandmother here. And you enlisted, but you would perform. The troops would come to Geraldton because it's a port town.
There was the army, the navy, had a big air force base, and then when Pearl Harbor happened, Catalina Bay here as well.
But I just one amazing singer you've ever heard in your life. She's just incredible.
Used to be.
She still sings. I've been posting in my Telegram group, I'm really sorry to admit this live on a stream, I'm posting like little sneak videos of when Nan'll be in there like preparing sandwiches. She's like, oh, I can't sing a word. I can't get it out. Sandwiches just like it's you don't.
You like that?
Sing, but big band jazz numbers, and you perform like that's.
In the Mood was my favourite. Was the one that they liked most.
In the Mood,
absolutely. You could swing your hips and.
So again, like just walk me through the mindset at the time, because in World War II, it's something that these days we read about and we watch documentaries about and all this. Like, what was the mindset at the time when it first happened in Australia in particular? I mean, this is a very isolated country, and yet we were very much tied to Britain, especially at the time.
We were.
So like whatever happened to them, we felt that there was a connection. Do you think that the people of Australia felt that there was that connection? Did we want to go and help the British? Like,
we didn't have a choice.
Right.
The Japanese came in.
Well, before the Pacific started, so 1939, like, because Pearl Harbor was born in 1940, right?
That's right.
So before that, when England entered the war, what was the mindset in Australia?
That yes, of course, we were part of the British Empire, and therefore we did our bit, both in the Boer War, the Crimea War. What was the Crimea? The Boer War. My father fought in the Boer War, and then there was World War I, and then there was World War II.
Wow.
And World War I, we lost such a hell of a lot of our male population, Australian population, as you will know if you go to France and see the cemeteries there. They literally, and I say this because it's true, that the British used the Australians as gun fodder. We went in on the front, we were the Philly when it was badly managed, and we lost a lot there. And when they were in trouble in France on the Somme, and Villers, in went the Australians. Even in the Middle East, at Tobruk and El Alamein, they sent the Australians in. We were used as gun fodder.
Now, do you think that, I mean, at the moment, it's funny because American British people, and they think of like, oh, everything's so fancy and everyone drinks tea and it's all very posh and they're all very smart. Like you see someone with a British accent, they're automatically very smart. And I feel like Australians have this idea of Britain that is completely the opposite of that. And do you think that that was colorized by what happened in World War II and by the way Australia was treated by Britain?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, of course. Of course. Quite job, and I'm very happy for her. But
I'm very happy for her.
I mean, she was born a year after me on the 21st of April, 20.
Oh, so she's chicken. She's just a young'un.
Oh, yeah, and she was in the army, and she too.
But she didn't sing like you.
But didn't they? Like, she and Margaret used to perform, I believe, at Windsor in the holidays. But royal family.
Yeah.
Family are generation. This is what I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of the fact that we are 7 generations Australian. And only 1 convict in the whole lot.
Rubbish. There were at least 2 convicts in there.
1.
There were at least 2. There was someone who stole like a piece of cloth.
A young girl who stole a piece of cloth 9 inches by 9 inches. I take it she was in service. They had a lot of males out here and not very many female. They had to get females out here, and they used the slightest to do that. And they might have in the household picked up chief enough to send her to Australia.
So it is true what they say. Australians are descended from convicts. We're all
Absolutely.
criminals.
Absolutely.
You can money, right? You can tell, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear. So I want to read out the power chats here that I missed before. So the one I missed before was Arturus Morkelionas, and I think that I didn't pronounce that correctly. I'm terribly sorry. Who says, Kieran, you ain't get pie today. So I'm sorry, spoken, but I'm sure that at some stage men might invite you over.
I could have said that, Kieran. You won't get any pie today.
She's stern. She's a tough one. And we got, Kieran sent another message saying, on the way now, got to pick up some mulberries. So if only Kieran knew where you lived.
The mulberries are out of season at the moment.
Sorry, Kieran. No mulberries. But if you can find some, I encourage you coming over, because then that would give Nan an excuse to make a mulberry pie. Then I'd get to eat it. So definitely do that. And then we have Paul Henning, who asks a question. Great-grandmother born in Germany in 1897, riding in a horse-drawn cart, and died in the 1990s at the dawn of the World Wide Web. What was it like seeing the change in technology and society? So you grew up in Geraldton. I talked in the last interview I did with you. You said, I asked you, how did you get anywhere? Because you didn't have a horse and cart.
No.
You didn't have a car.
No.
You know, how did you get anywhere? And your answer was?
Well, what we call Shanks's pony. We walked.
Shanks's pony, that's a new one.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. So anywhere you wanted to go, you had to be able to get there by foot.
One of our favourite pastimes was on a Sunday in the season, when it was springtime. We would walk 3 miles, and we were only little tiny kids, but we could in those days, in complete safety, we could walk anywhere. And we'd walk 3 miles out to the Chapman River, and we'd walk along the Chapman River, and we would pick the Geraldton wax that grew prolifically.
Geraldton wax, what's that?
There. It's a bush that has the prettiest waxy-like flowers. They're lovely. And we would go, and each of us would pick, and we'd come home and walk 3 miles back home with armfuls of Geraldton wax to give to our mother.
And then
that was a wonderful pastime. Or we'd walk for about a mile out to what we call the back beach, and we'd roll down the white sand hills. We'd have a lovely time rolling down. They were the things we enjoyed, and it was fun.
And so do you remember when the first car came down?
Well, I don't remember the first car. There were very few. I know that my brother, my elder sister's husband, had a car, very good position, and he could afford a car.
Fancy.
But it was a small car, but nevertheless, he was one of the very few. And that I'm going, I suppose, 1939, 1937.
And what was your impression of that? Like, was it something that scared you? Were you excited?
No, I thought it was wonderful. Yeah, you could get from A to B, you know, sort of thing. Everybody had a bicycle, of course. There were a lot of bicycles. But, no, very few cars. And of course I remember the days when the toilet was down the backyard. and you had the toilet man come to take your bins away.
So how grateful are you on a scale of 1 to flush toilet, are you for flush toilets?
1 to what?
1 to flush toilet, because I presume you're incredibly grateful that now,
I am
in the
so
convenience
very
of your own house.
I am so very grateful. Yes, yes, those sort of things are very good. Yeah, I don't mind the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the washing machine.
So you had 3 children.
I did.
And
no washing machine.
And no washing machine.
And no refrigerator.
And no refrigerator. Let's talk about the washing machine. How you had to wash diapers. This is pre-disposable diapers.
I boiled the copper. And I boiled all the...
Boil copper.
Yeah,
that is something
in the soap suds.
And a copper, for anyone who doesn't know what a copper is?
Well, it's a copper thing, and you put the fire under it. And you boiled the water, and you put the clothes in with the soap suds, and you boiled it, and you stirred it, and they cleaned them, and then you got them out, and then you got a washing board, which was a serrated board.
The things you see, like those jazz people playing.
And you put it into the tub, but you didn't have sinks. You had tubs, and you put it in there, and you'd scrub each of them.
Scrub diapers, like you're talking about diapers with poo on them.
Everything, and then they go into the rinsing water, and then you'd have to hand wring all the clothing and then cart it out to the line and hang it up on the line, big lines.
So here's a question. Do you think that your generation is way tougher generation? Because and I feel like that has to be character building.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, in the house, very few people could afford carpets. And we had linoleum. Linoleum had to go at least once a week. So you were down on your hands and knees scrubbing the dining room, the lounge, scrubbed on your knees with a scrubbing brush. And then, after you'd scrubbed it, you polished it. Wow. Yes. Oh, yes.
So, I mean...
And you stood for hours with flat irons on the stove, keeping hot. And, of course, the shirts and that were all... And there were a lot of shirts with a lot of brothers, you know. And we did the ironing, including the sheets and pillow slip, with flat irons. Each of us had a job in the ironing. Mine, when I was so small that I had to get up to the table, and my job was the tea towels and the pillow slips.
So how old would you have been then?
Oh, about 5.
So a 5-year-old, your mother and father trusted a 5-year-old with a hot iron to do the tea towels.
Yeah.
I mean, these days people would call that child abuse. What would you call it?
Hard work.
So the way children are being raised today, you know, compared with how you were raised. Like, obviously, I'd like to see children pampered, not have to hold a hot iron when they're... What's your perspective having grown up?
It worries me about children. I mean, I'm not against women working, but I didn't go to work, but my children needed me. It wasn't that I stayed in the house all the time. I was very, very prominent with the schools they went to. I was on tuck shop, and I was on committees and things like that.
Make all their clothes?
All their clothes.
You made this. So Nan actually made this outfit that she's wearing right now. She's an amazing sewer. My mum was like the best dressed person through the 50s and 60s with all these handmade, beautiful...
Only because I couldn't afford to buy ready-made shop. Go to the sales at sale time and buy the remnants of material, and I'd make all her clothes, but she had the advantage of being able to go anywhere and know that there wouldn't be another dress like hers. So that was all right.
Yeah. So you're talking about women, like, I mean, it's interesting. So a lot of why I wanted to do this Ask Me Anything is to get your perspective. Like, it's a very different mindset, what you were brought up with. I mean, we disagree on a lot of things. We disagree about tech. We disagree about women in the workforce. There's a lot of things that have changed, but it's fascinating.
I don't disagree with women in the workforce. I think they should have equality. I think as a matter of fact, if there were more women, we'd have a stronger parliament. But I'm not against that at all. But I do feel that if you have children and they have to come home to an empty house after school, that bonding is not there that we had with my children. My children would come from school, and they would walk into my care, every other child in the neighbourhood. His dads were both working, and they'd sit around the table in my kitchen and drink coffee and drink tea, laugh, and it was the meeting place for everybody, simply because they had somewhere.
People that you're now from that era, who are the children of the neighbourhood who'd come and visit you.
And they call me Nana.
Yeah.
They call me Nana, and their children call me Nana.
But I feel like what you're talking about isn't like, oh, well, in our day it used to be like this. I feel like there was maybe this brief period in time, and maybe you were particularly unique in this respect, that you could do this, because like you go a generation back, you look at your parents bringing up you and your brothers and sisters. I don't feel like they were this kind of at home, come and let's hug and have cookies. Like, it seems like it was a very, cold, like, harsh.
Well, that's absolutely right. I did not really have any love from my parents.
Yeah.
My father, as I told you, would prepare the breakfast and off he'd go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. He would come home at 6 o'clock at night, by which time we had had our evening meal. Very quiet. My father had his meal, and having eaten his meal, he would then get up and go into the bedroom and lie on the bed and read his paper. And that he was somebody that lived in the house, but there wasn't communication. And as for Mother, Marion, and many's the leather strap put across, many's the time.
Again, a very different world
and
now.
She was so lacking in love that when I was about 12, I came down to Perth to the ABC to sing. I was asked to come down and sing on the...
Which is like our...
the radio station.
NPR,
the government radio station. Yeah. And I got down to the railway station in Geraldton with a teacher, a lady teacher. She brought me down. And my mother actually leaned over and kissed me on the cheek to say goodbye. And I was completely embarrassed, because it was something she had never done before. Yeah. And I was about 12 years old then.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like we talk about the 1950s and 60s, and it's this idea where, oh, this family unit, and the housewife in their cute little dress, and and all of this kind of like, the man goes to work and the woman stays at home, and you have like 2-point-whatever children, and but I feel like it was just this very unique period in time, often looked at with nostalgia. And then we didn't have that experience. After that, people these days,
I think about my mother, but can you imagine, just for yourself, can you imagine a woman who marries at the age of 21, 24, having a child every 2 years in that 24 years? Oh my gosh. Why would she show any love? It would be despair, I think. It's just horrific. Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you think
horrific.
she, like in that era, she would have been pressured into having children? Or do you think it would have been a choice?
She what the good God gave me.
Okay, so we know how many times she had sex.
Well, I always put it down to the fact there was no radio and there was no television, so what do you do in the winter time?
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So you, in the line of people, like you were number
10
out of 12.
Yep.
And you were partially raised by your older siblings.
Oh, Philippa, my eldest sister, she really was. She was so controlling. So much so that when I had to go to work, birth certificate, you can get a little, you know, what do you call it? Just a little slip to say who you are. No, not me. I got the whole thing so that I could see who my mother really was, because I was quite sure it was Philippa.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Fascinating. And that wasn't uncommon back then.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Interesting. So let's go back to the tech question and looking at the differences that you've seen across your lifetime, going from a town with cars to buggies even.
And telephones.
Very few telephones.
Very few
And
telephones.
now we've got this right here.
Absolutely.
And you've got how
Very
many in
few.
your house?
Very few in the street had a telephone. You had to be quite rich to have a telephone.
So in your wildest dreams, did you ever think back then that you would have a life where you have all these conveniences?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I didn't even think it when I got married.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we had £10 in the bank, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so when did they land on the 63?
I don't know.
Someone will know that. So what was your thought when you saw the moon landing, going from horse and buggies to the moon?
Yeah.
What was your impression?
I was impressed. Yeah. Yes. Few things happen in a war that are good, but in the war, technology went a long way.
And which war are you talking about? The
I'm
Cold War?
talking World War II.
World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. They discovered the atom bombs, and they discovered rockets. So, you know, the England, they're sending those rockets. Yeah, that's where really technology started to originate. And
so when they first landed on the moon, what was your? I mean, there are people, like, there are places you could go to in space.
Absolutely.
What was like the atmosphere then? Did you watch it live on television?
It was amazing. Matter of fact, so amazing that a heck of a lot of people reckon that it was a hoax. They could not believe that it could be done.
Sure, there may be people who still.
Yeah. Well, I know the first man, who was he? Oh, my mind's going. It was the circle of the Earth.
Well, I didn't know it to begin with, so I can't be.
Well, there was the station up in Carnarvon, you know, that monitored it.
Okay.
And your grandfather, my husband, Tim, he was in Carnarvon at the time, and
that's a country town to the north.
It's up in the north of Western Australia, and the chap name of Wainwright was in charge, and his son and my son went to school together, and through that, Tim was invited to the station in Carnarvon. When
the first person orbited? That's awesome.
The Earth, yeah.
That's really cool. So he was there, he was able to see it?
Yes,
through, like,
yes. He came home Saturday, you know. So he knew that happened because he was there when they monitored the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you watch the moon landing live when it happened?
I don't think we had a television then, did we?
Huh.
Took us a long time to get a television. We couldn't.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, your children, what did they think? Do you remember?
Oh, well, of course they were used to it. But I mean, technology was starting to bloom at that time,
Yeah.
and they sort of accepted it as it came. And yeah.
All right, so now fast forward, you got the moon landing, and now we live in this age right now where you have every kind of technological gizmo that you could possibly think of.
Well, I saw on the television the other day, I don't think of his name either. Forgive me for being they now have a spaceship which go into outer space.
Yeah.
A passenger.
Really?
That's his name.
That's
Brand.
Elon Musk?
No,
what's his name? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I can't think. Well, I'm glad you can't think of it because I can't either.
The guy who's always drunk when he keynote speaks at conferences. Airlines. Well, guys.
But anyway, they now have this. Have built this thing that will go to outer space. Yes.
All right, I'm just looking.
And carry passengers. Brandon. Oh God. Isn't it terrible when you can't remember?
Yeah, no, Richard Branson.
That's him.
Thank you, Karen.
That's him.
Richard Branson. I mean, that's just a crazy amount of stuff to live through. Like,
well, it's such a lot has happened.
Yeah.
In really such a short time.
Yeah, and so much of that stuff has happened in the last 20, 30 years. Like, I remember getting my first computer, and I was like, something, but I remember it. And we got it for Christmas. And it's like, we were one of the first people I know of to get a computer. You know, that was so fast. And then I remember when I first got internet. I think that was in 97. That was weird. Internet being like, and actually, do you know what I used to do with the internet? So with CDs and tapes, you get song lyrics, generally in the booklet cover.
Yeah.
And I've always been obsessed with music, as you know. And so I would...
Inherited it from your grandmother.
I sure did. Yeah, where could I possibly gotten that obsession from?
Yeah.
And I used to be obsessed with memorizing lyrics to songs. And when the internet came and I thought it was good for, I was like, oh my gosh, there are these lyrics pages where you could look up any song and find the lyrics to anything. And so I started printing them out. I'd print out lyrics to my favorite songs and I'd add them to the collection so that I always had them. Because in my mind, I didn't realize that the internet was kind of forever. These things don't disappear. I was like, oh, I've got access to these things. I need to print them out now so that I'll always have them. I ended up with a stack of lyrics, like this thick, just like kept printing them for years and years until finally I was like, what am I doing?
I knew all the lyrics too, but I didn't need to print them out. They were up here.
So that's the difference. My memory is augmented because I have this everywhere. Yeah. But I can access more information that way because I could just Google it. I could just look things up.
That's what I mean. You're not you got your eyes on that, not on what's going on.
I'm just looking up. So all right, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin because this anonymous person did ask us for some tips because we're in the future because it's a what day of the week is it here? It's a Monday here. It's still a Sunday where they are.
That's correct.
So we're way in the future. What is the future like here? What can they expect when it finally gets to Monday?
I don't know. I don't know. Because I think the future is an individual thing for everybody. What I consider to be my future and what's going to happen to me is entirely different to what's going to happen to the next person. So, no, I can't answer that.
All right, I'm going to ask you, even though you always avoid this question now because you hate that I record you talking about Bitcoin and put it on the internet, but I'm going to ask you about it. So we've talked about Bitcoin before.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the power of Bitcoin to help people. And we've talked about, before we talked about war, and we've talked about how government having control of money means that it can lead to atrocities like war. You know, they can tax people, they can inflate money. And Bitcoin came around and now it's an alternative. how does that make you feel, finally seeing that perhaps this paradigm is shifting and perhaps individuals might have more power going forward?
I've got mixed feelings about it, because although it might control government, it also gives access to people who will use it illegally. Drug runners.
But I mean, they use the US dollar currently, and they're fine with that, but we don't hate the US dollar. Well, people watching this channel.
What I mean is, with the US dollar, it can be traced.
Cash can't, though.
But Bitcoin, it just sort of, you can't trace it. You can't trace it. So that people can avoid their taxes, which they should pay.
Taxation is theft.
I believe in tax. If you want to live
taxation is theft. Don't listen to the lady next to me.
If you want to live in a decent country and have a decent life, you obey the laws is that you've got to pay taxes if you want an economy, a decent economy. And a lot of people are avoiding Bitcoin. A lot of people are laundering money through Bitcoin. And there is that bad side of it. Cannot just abhor the thought, though, that there are people doing that.
Now, I have a question for you. Do you have this perception about Bitcoin because this is what the news have been saying?
I thought about it.
But I feel that is the from the mainstream media. And it's like, if you Bitcoin, you have this tiny little fraction here, which is all of the stuff you're talking about, and it's really not used for a lot of those things, even though it could potentially be. It's really not the main use of this. I mean, I feel like the mainstream media really doesn't want people to use it because it threatens banks. It threatens big institutions.
I'm up for anything that threatens the banks at the moment. They're so damn corrupt that something's got to threaten them to bring them into line.
I feel like Bitcoin could be that thing, though. Like, that's why I'm so much more excited.
I haven't gone to consider that. No.
Like, but I feel like the scope for good, I think it far outweighs the. And even if there are, I mean, there's a knife that could be used as a weapon, but does that mean we
not a butter knife? It's too blunt.
Have you ever tried though? I reckon you'd be pretty swift with a butter knife.
No.
Sandwiches, Nan. I know you're.
That's not a butter knife. That's a very special knife.
All right. So kitchen knife then. So I mean, I see what you're saying, and I think a lot of people feel the same way as you. No one's talking about the potential that this has to disrupt the banking industry.
But why aren't they talking about it?
Because
why isn't there more publicity?
Controlled.
The people that are controlling it, the people that want to pursue it, the people that want to put it forward. Why isn't there more publicity
Because
about it?
they're all being marginalised. They're not being given airtime to talk about this. When I get invited on television to talk about Bitcoin, we talk about the price. And I'm only ever invited on when it's a bull market. So I go on there and they're like, whoa, Naomi, it's $9,000 right now. And I'm like, yeah. Also, they're amazing. And they'll like cut me off because all they want is the headlines. And I feel like mainstream media, there are two things happening. They want the clickbait, you know, what's going to get people watching, you know, they're interested in ratings. And they're interested, I mean, they're controlled. A large part, they're controlled by sponsors, they're controlled by vested interests. There's always the you know, the threat of government, you know, being able to put pressure on things. At the moment, I don't know if you know about some different platforms out there. Platform called Patreon, which is basically an internet page where people can send like monthly support to someone if they like the videos that they make or if they like the songs they make. It's kind of like this monthly, and you've just seen them recently purge all of the they disagree. And we've actually learned, like, you go, people are seeing the history of like Patreon purging people from their site, and it really started off, the narrative that they were saying is actually MasterCard us threatening payment process endless control. It is just like that. So, I mean, you think about private companies can have whoever they want on their platform, right? But at the same time, these payment hold enormous power that I'm really excited about things that disrupt that power. You know, Bitcoin is something that and that's what excites me. That's why I work in this space, because I like seeing these vested interests disrupt.
Which only leads me to believe, thank God I'm 93, you know, it's the younger generation I worry about. They're going to have to put up with this for a long time. I don't.
Well, the singularity.
No, thank you, dear. Done with that.
All right, let me just check. Speaking of platforms, so bitbacker.io is a platform that I'm using as a Patreon alternative in case anyone wants to check out my page there, and you use crypto instead of dirty fiat. And you can also send power chats. People have been sending power chats. Huge thank you to everyone who's been using the power chat for this. Also thank you to everyone who's been using the super chat. If there are any this is someone sent money and they sent it to you, so you've just received your first Bitcoin Cash, Nan.
Have I?
Polly,
nice.
Polly just said, Naomi, this is for Nan, not you! Exclamation mark. So they just sent through Bitbacker. They sent you your first any donations that I receive on Bitbacker, I'm going to put towards taking my Nan out to a lovely lunch.
No, we'll put it to charity.
We'll give you a nice lunch. It's going to you.
I can get a nice lunch. I can go into the kitchen and make a delicious sandwich.
That's
Who wants
true.
to eat
Her sandwiches are probably better than anything.
Give it to charity.
Well, I imagine that you probably don't want to talk for another 5 hours.
No, thank you.
Even though I would like to.
I'm not the one with verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, right. That's not your reputation at all, Nan.
No,
not at all.
No.
Actually, I lost the video.
Oh, good.
That's what happens. Don't good me. Thank you. Oh, here we go. I found it again. So Andy says that he uses bad money before good money. Sorry, Naomi. So he just sent through a super chat. But thank you, Andy. I really appreciate it. Makes a lot of sense. So let's wrap up here. I just want your thoughts for the future, Nan. Like, what do you think is, you know, what do you see as the future of humanity? What can we be excited about? And let's start with that one. More.
The future for humanity? I'm afraid I'm not very hopeful.
Oh no.
I'm not very hopeful with the way the world is at the moment and the countries fighting with one another, the rearmament. I'm not very.
That's why you need to research Bitcoin more, because the more you know about Bitcoin and the power to disrupt and take power of this government, the more excited you.
Yeah, but they're not doing it, and I'm a very frightened lady, especially about Russia and China.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all you hear on the news these days. Mainstream media. You got to wonder why they're talking about it. Like, you know, is there some sort of a false flag thing? Are they trying to divert our attention? Because they've got a lot of problems in this country. They took away our privacy recently in Australia. There's a thing called encryption, which means that digital things is kind of like a digital lock and key, where you can make messages private and all that. And they've just taken that away in Australia and said, we're going to put backdoors in things so we can read everything, which basically is akin to the government opening your mail before it arrives at your house.
I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, so I wonder, like, if all of this stuff about other countries is like a diversion tactic while all this other stuff is going on that's pretty terrifying. Like, I'm pretty terrified. I'm hopeful, but I'm terrified as well.
It's not only government is doing things, visual things that you know are happening, like building islands in the Sea of China and extending China out into the open sea, and then controlling that part of the sea where before it was open to all countries. Things like that worry me. They really are worrying me. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
So
and quite, not that I wish to go into politics. I don't. I'd rather go and scrub floors.
Okay.
But
fair enough too. My nan's got her head
I'm just a
screwed
little
on
bit jittery
straight.
about America and the leader of your country at the moment.
We should all be.
Oh.
We should be jittery about the leader of any country, because who gives these elites the right to make decisions for every other person? It's
The man isn't even a politician, for God's sake.
That's probably a good thing. Look at the people who are professional politicians. So just their whole life is
There
about
aren't many of them
lobbyists.
left, though, are there?
No,
they're
but
all resigning.
Oh, but I mean, like, they're all terrible now. They're terrible. Do you really think they have our best interests at heart?
Well, I only know that America was a great force until we got your new president, and now it's very shaky.
Okay, it's the mainstream media, Nan. I think that America for a long time has done some dodgy things.
All right,
Americans are always going to be self-interested. This whole idea of
that's
for the
why
country,
I want more women in politics.
We're self-interested too, though.
Not as much.
Yeah, really?
Look at the Julie Bishops of this world. Could there be in this world a better politician than that woman? And she's a backbencher at the moment. Why? Because she doesn't agree with the politics that we've got in Australia at the present time.
Do you think she would have fought the encryption bill?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. Well, actually, we've got a power chat here from Andy, who sent the Nan. And Andy says, Nana, pray for me this year. Pray for me. This year was bad for me overall, not crypto. Please have me in your prayers. Thank you. So Andy is asking if you'll pray for him.
The one thing I regularly, I very much believe that there is a creator, and yes, you have my word, I will remember you in my prayers.
That's good. So Andy, you've got the prayers.
Yep.
I'm sure he will get that. So the final question I want to ask, what are some words of wisdom for us? Question for me, like what is the most valuable lesson you think you've taught me? And what is the advice that you would give us all?
Integrity. And everybody, learn to laugh. Laughter is the greatest medicine I know. If you can laugh, then things become unimportant. The bad things become unimportant. If you can laugh, you can get by.
Yeah.
Just be honest and have integrity and pride. Have pride in yourself. Have pride in yourself.
I think that's great. So pull up this to make sure that I haven't missed any power chats before we go. So tuning into Bitbacker here. You got another message. You got it from JR, who ran a YouTube channel. He made some delightful videos. You'd love the backgrounds in them. Films in Canada with these beautiful, glaciers and oceans and forests.
How lovely.
But he says, thank you so much for the wonderful and historical chat. This is a big gift from JR to Nan, and Naomi, you can have a little too, just a little. Thanks so much, JR. I really, really appreciate that. And Nan, I think that that's a great lesson. Integrity and learn to laugh. I think that's absolutely beautiful.
And have pride in yourself.
Yeah. So maybe we can use in the crypto space as well. So Bitcoin, we're fighting against governments and banks. So we've got a lot, but then there's a lot of internal fighting as well. It's so important to people that they take it very personally. You attack my project that I'm working on. I hate you, and vice versa, and you're a scammer, and you're, and it's a lot of animosity there. And I'm wondering if we can use this learn to laugh.
Absolutely.
Advice to help us a little.
Laughter is the best medicine I know. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, Nan. Well, I'm going to let you go, and let me just reload this one more time. Because last time I always feel bad that my live stream, I did a live stream on Christmas. Yeah. And Anthony Monero sent me a super chat just as I was closing. I was like, it's ended. So I don't want to do that again. All right. So it looks like we're all good. And so on that note, I'm going to give you, you have no idea how much they have been pestering me in my Telegram group to do live streams with you while I'm in Australia.
Well, this will teach you. You'll know that I'm a very ordinary, very old lady and really not important.
There's nothing ordinary.
Not the least important.
Nothing ordinary about her. So everyone, please give a hand to my absolutely delightful, amazing role model here, the rock of my life.
She really does go on, doesn't she? She really does.
She puts me in my place. That's what I can expect from her. But you're amazing, and I really appreciate this. And your perspective is just invaluable. So thank you.
Love you.
Oh, I love you
love
too.
You.
Oh, all right, everyone. Thank you so much
Goodbye.
for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in the chat. Thank you, everyone who used bitbacker.io today. I really appreciate that. Everyone who sent in a super chat as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day and Happy New Year. I'll have another video for you probably after you've gone to bed because I know it's late there. So I will be uploading another video for you just with my predictions for next year. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be up soon. All right. I love you all. Thank you so much.